like you said, comedy keeps ebbing and flowing, and there's different mediums for outlets and all this kind of stuff. And now we're seeing too with the social media stuff, a lot of comics from all levels are, kind of flooding it with crowd interaction,
Yeah.
that sort of thing. What's your take on that? I understand why comics would do that. I don't know if you do much of that, but
I I
I
posted a bunch of crowd work clips. So that's so go ahead. I'm sorry. I don't
I was
just
just gonna
finished the
say I
question.
understand why because you don't want to burn material and all that kind of stuff and but do you think everybody has different takes on this like a hot button issue these days about this. Some guys are all for it, some guys don't like it. Some guys feel like they have to just to keep up with the Joneses, so to speak. So I just wanted to get
Right.
your take on kind of crowd work videos.
So I've talked about this I'm talked about on podcasts before, and I've talked about it with friends ad nauseum. We're blue in the face, whatever. And my take on it is this: it might be a generational thing. I've put up tons of crowd work clips. I do crowd work when I do headlining sets. I have nothing against crowd work, but the difference is I know why I do it.
Right.
So one thing that's not being said about this is that, in my opinion, this is just take it with a grain of salt, but in my opinion, if so now it's such an accepted thing. There's two things that can happen. Is that if you're going to do this, this is what's happened with stand up and show business. Now it's changed so much that if you're going to put these clips up and somebody comes see you, you can't get mad when people shout shit out or they're talking during your set. Like if you've based your whole online presence on that, you just can't. Like they a lot of people, because of these crowd work clips, say you're 25, you've never been to a stand-up show, and all you see is crowd work clips online, you think that's a portion of the show. So I've seen people put crowd work clips up and then get mad at the crowd it's like you can't do it. So that's one thing. The other thing is this: I know what crowd work was functional, and there's no such thing as a crowd work comic. Like people are like, what about Big J Okerson, the crowd work comic? Goes, he's not a crowd work comic. He's a guy who talks to the crowd and then weaves bits in and out of the crowd.
You're from Canada? Yeah. Welcome. Is this your husband? Yes. So you had to move here to America to interracial marriage? Yeah, we're pretty progressive over here. I don't know if you Canucks have figured that out just yet.
And the guy does amazing crowd work, but it's like a Patrice scenario. Like Patrice is like that, where it was like this is all calculated, and it's just they're so good, just off the cuff, that it's like they're weaving it into a bit that works here and there and next way. That's not just straight up crowd work.
Right.
There's a difference.
I feel like you're here just to fuck me up. I feel like that's what it is. In your fucking really jazzy you wear jazzy outfits. You wear outfits like a modern day Miami Vice character. That's why you wear outfits like. You really fucked me up. I made fun of your suit. It got nothing last night. That did okay. Okay, God! But I like, it's all right. I feel like we're family already. Good for you. I don't like to see that. Somebody I saw 12 hours ago right there just looking and judging all my shit.
But I know why. Straight up crowd work, I know why I would do it is because I was either trying to bring them back from something, and you said something they didn't dig, so you go into the crowd a little bit on the 45-minute set and trying to get back. Or I know that it's like my thing is like I don't write enough new, and I'm trying to pull something out of it or whatever I'm trying to do, but I never considered it this thing. Somebody told me on Twitter maybe like a year or two ago. I was like, hey, I've heard people are doing. I wrote, I've heard people were doing crowd work at open mics. And I was like, you should stop doing this if you're doing crowd work at open mics. And people not lost it, but a couple people wrote to me and said, what if they're a crowd work comic and they're plying their trade? And I go, there's no such thing. Crowd work is just part of this. And a lot of people know why. It's because writing jokes is really hard. It's really hard. And writing evergreen jokes that work on a consistent basis for a long time that you're having fun saying is one of the hardest things to do in showbiz, in the writing world. And nobody wants to admit that. So pretending I've done it. And also I'm guilty of it. I'm not precluding myself. I'm not a genius writer. I'm okay joke writer that's really good at crowd work. But I know the difference. I know that writing something, even you write something on stage that works. I've done that before. You write a joke, hey, this worked really well. It does really well for a while.
Yeah.
But to turn around and compare yourself to somebody who is a truly proficient writer and performer, but all you do is crowd work, and it's straight up crowd work. It's not like there's a guy named Ian Bagg who is, if you're going to call anybody a crowd work comic, I guess it's him, but he's brilliant with it. And he's very unique, and he's very organic, and he's just in control the entire time.
Are you married? Are you married? What's the deal? No, what kind of man are you looking for? Let's put it out there. We got a lot of... Not him. Did you even point at anybody? Did you fucking just yell? Oh, you pointed. I just seen you go, not him, like you shut every man down here. Like fucking golden vagina. Fucking not him. Fucking you're not good enough for this. I'm not meeting a man in a fucking basement, I'll tell you that much.
But if you're just doing, you're straight up crowd work and you're putting that up, all I'm asking is to be self-aware of what you're doing. You're just taking the lazy way out, and I say this because that's what I've done many a time. I posted a clip up because, hey, I got a big pop and it's a good little crowd work thing, but I don't hold it in the same regard as something that I've worked on or some other thing that I'm in awe of, that, so that's where I think we're at with this thing. I think the perception of it is where I've been doing it almost 19 years in June. And then awesome. The perception of it is where I differ, but like, once again, you never want to be the guy who's in the rocking chair telling about, in my day, we didn't consider crowd work this. So maybe it's just changed, and maybe it's out of my hands here.
What do you do, Alex?
I work at the DMV.
You work at the DMV? Go f yourself, Alex. Right in your Benjamin Button's face. You're not even aging and you work at the DMV? Why would you put yourself in this vulnerable situation? Guess what? You're in my world now. I'm gonna do 45 minutes of you just so you have to wait. How about that? How does it feel, Alex? Why would you say that? You say you work in an office, you weirdo. I work at the DMV. Guess what? We're gonna be here for 4 hours, Alex. And I'm just gonna hand you a number, I think with a number on it. And then I'm gonna tell you didn't bring the right forms for my comic.
And the burning material thing, I don't know if that even holds water. I've heard that as well. It makes no sense, because I was thinking about this the other day, real quick. Sorry to go off for a while, but I was thinking about this the other day. Back in the day, a lot of these guys, even like your Kevin Jameses and your Brian Regans, all these guys, when there was no internet and they were coming up in the clubs 80s, 90s, they were working on the same hour for like 15 years straight. They would just go back to these towns, and maybe it would change it up a little bit. But I feel like the bulk of it would have been like, hey, I'm burning these jokes at these. The live gigs was like, well, I did that hour there again. So technically, you'd be like, I had to come back in a year and do a brand new hour, which is only a fairly like 10-year-old phenomenon from like the Louis specials, where it's like you have to start turning over these jokes. So the idea of burning material, I think, is kind of false, because they're going to come see you anyway. If they dig you, they're coming to see you anyway. And by the time they see you, they'll forgot you post that joke from 6 months ago, or it might even be different at that point, if you're constantly working. So I think it's perception, and I think things are changing. Like there's a guy, Jeff Arcuri, that does really well crowd work and has a huge following. It's like 1 million, and he's very good at it. And he's very clever, but I think he knows it's crowd work. I hope he knows it. It's still crowd work. And I think, but I'm like, if they come and they yell at you because of it, you can't, don't get me wrong, nobody wants anybody shouting out at a show, but you have to understand it more than